Most of you think that the reason that you are broke is because you don't work hard enough or because you don't have the right opportunities. Don't get me wrong, that's partially true, but there's a lot more that's deeper than that behind the surface. Because the truth is, from the time you were a kid, you've ultimately been programmed to stay broke unless you came from a very wealthy family, which most of you watching this probably did not. And if you don't reprogram yourself, you are going to stay exactly where you are. We're going to change that. So in this video, I'm going to show you the 7 beliefs that you need to unlearn, that you need to break, first of all, for yourself so that you can actually be successful. But in addition to that, being able to identify it with yourself so that you can identify it with the prospects. So a lot of the reframes and the shit that you're saying actually has weight behind it. And it's not just you regurgitating some fancy word tracks you found from a handsome young man with dreads and tattoos. So let's dive in. So guys, I am big on internalizing your success and it being from you, but I'm also realistic and I also understand that there are things that are external, which is why we're having why I'm making this video right now. And so according to the Stanford Center on Poverty and Equality, the parental economic status is the primary determining factor for children's mobility. This comes from professors and people way smarter than you and I who've done studies for years and years. So what that means is your parents' bag is directly related to your bag. And I want you to really think about how much money do your parents make? And then I want you to think about, if you have older siblings, how much money do they make? And I'm sure it's very similar. How much money do your parents make and how much money did your grandparents make? Relatively, right? It's very similar relative to the times. Think about all the people around you who come from middle-class families, maybe upper middle class or lower middle class. Think about where they are right now. And I'm sure they're upper or lower middle class. Think about the people you know who come from money, who come from wealth. They are probably wealthy themselves. A lot of the richest people that I know here in Miami came from money. And I'm not saying this in a way that they didn't work for it, but they came from money. So a lot of the unlearning that we're talking about right now, they did not have to do. And so if you are watching this and you came from money, a lot of the shit I'm saying here is probably not even going to be relevant to you because you probably don't even have these beliefs. But if you came from a family that did not make a lot of money, right, like multiple 6 figures or 7 figures a year, then I'm talking directly to you. So let's dive into these 7 beliefs that we're going to unbreak for you guys, right? So the first one is the get a good job programming. Something that you have to understand, guys, is the entire education system is designed to create employees, which is like no shit. Obviously, a lot of you probably already knew that. With that said, that means everything that you are consuming as a child, everything that you're going through in school is designed to get you to be a good employee. We have to raise our fucking hand to use the bathroom. Think about that shit. It makes no sense. They're programming you so that you, when you eventually have a boss, you can be the best possible employee for that boss. And you're not really you're not meant to think for yourself. And so a lot of the things, again, that your teachers tell you, right? Like I remember teachers would say shit like, okay, when, are you gonna say something like that when your boss tells you to do something? Who said I'm gonna have a fucking boss, Miss Math Teacher? Right? Think back to stuff like that you've been hearing from your parents, from your teachers, that allude to the fact that you're just gonna get a job, right? It's that way by design. And also those people were programmed the exact same way. Now, obviously, if you're here, you know that trading your time for money, it captures earning potential. But the point of school isn't for you to have this crazy high earning potential. It's for you to be a cog in the wheel, which is okay. Like, I'm not saying it as it's a bad thing, but again, if you're watching this video, you probably want better for yourself. And the whole point of business isn't to be a cog in the wheel, it's to create value and to sell that value, right? For a dollar amount that is ultimately, the dollar amount is worth less to them, but more to you for the value that you give, and the value is worth more. Like, that's the whole point of business. You're not taught that shit though. So that's going to be the first one, is the get a job programming. The second belief to unlearn is that money is evil. Phrases like money doesn't grow on trees, or rich people are greedy, or billionaires are evil people. Like, in order to be a billionaire, in order to be someone like fucking Elon Musk or Jeff Bezos, you have to create so much fucking value that millions of people are willing to trade over their money to you. Like, that's not an evil fucking person. That's someone who created value at a pretty large scale. And for the people who think that billionaires are evil people, okay, then stop using PayPal, stop using Amazon, stop using fucking YouTube. You can't, because the value is too high. And so these are things that are programmed into you because you're not supposed to be rich. So of course you're going to be told that money is evil. Guys, money is a tool that amplifies who you already are. If you're already a generous and giving person, having more money is going to be an even more generous and giving person. If you are already an asshole when you're broke, you're just going to be a rich asshole. So if you find yourself, maybe you see a nice car, right? Maybe you see a nice watch and you instantly think to yourself, oh, that person's probably a scammer. Oh, that's probably not real. Or that person probably did something unethical to get there. That's the subconscious programming that money is evil, and it's showing itself, and it's so fucking subconscious. So that's number 2 that you need to be aware of and kill, is money is evil. Number 3 is seeing others around you fail, and as a result, having informed pessimism. So I'll give you a personal story about this one. I have someone very close to me. I grew up in Delaware, and I have someone very close to me who is a decent amount older than me, right? Like a generation older than me. And this person has repeatedly and countlessly watched people try to start businesses and fail those businesses, try to go out on a limb and it not work. And so this person has a fundamental belief that going out on your own, starting a business, doing something for you is fundamentally the wrong decision and is going to lead to failure because of the failures that they've seen. This is programming that they have, that they were trying to give to me, which of course I didn't listen to, that they were trying to give to me subconsciously and as a way of protecting me, because it's someone who cares deeply about me. But you have to be mindful of this shit, because every time they would give me reasons as to why I shouldn't take this career path, or why I shouldn't start a business, or why I should wait, or why I should go to college, why I should do these things, they would always give an example of someone who tried to, but it didn't work. So-and-so tried to start this business and things didn't end up working out. They were in a bunch of debt. So-and-so tried to do this, ended up right back in their parents' house. And they would constantly remind me because of the people that they've seen around them, right? This is informed pessimism, because they actually have a reason, because they've seen it, they've gotten proof, right? It's informed, they've gotten proof that the route that you're taking won't work because it hasn't worked for the people that they've seen. I'll give you another one, right? This is about my dad. Shout out to my pops. I love my dad. When I decided to not go to college, when I decided to take a little bit of a different route and do what I'm doing now, he would constantly remind me of the other people who he knew who did not go to college, and they became fucking losers. And the other people he knew who tried to do something different that wasn't the traditional path, and they were struggling. And he would use that as leverage to tell me of why I should go to college so I don't end up like those people. Again, it's informed pessimism. It's pessimism that comes from experiences. And if you're not careful, the people around you, their beliefs, that becomes your beliefs. Their insecurities become your insecurities if you're not careful. And so remember what I said at the start of this video, that your parents' income level is ultimately a direct reflection of what your income level is going to be if you don't do something to change how you think and to rewire your thinking. It's because you've adopted this, and these are the beliefs you have about money. So if you grew up watching your parents struggle to pay bills, if you grew up watching your parents have to rob Peter to pay Joe, or rob Peter to pay Paul, whatever the fucking saying is, this is how you see money, right? This is, again, it's informed pessimism around money. Money is hard to make. Money is scarce, which we're going to talk about a little later. If they say we can't afford that, you learn to think small. I remember my mom picking me up and, we'd hit the store sometimes, or we'd be driving by and I'd say, could we get, just a kid, could we get McDonald's, or could I get this toy? And I remember constantly hearing, oh, we don't have the money for that, or oh, we can't afford that. And it just made no sense to me, because I'm like, dog, how are you working all day long and you don't have the money? Like, it made no sense to me. And I started to watch myself adapt these beliefs that money really doesn't grow on trees, that there really is a limited and scarce amount of money. Until I came across videos like this and I was made conscious and aware of it, and I realized that that's not the best way to think, that's not the best way to handle these things. And for the record too, these are things that my parents are now starting to unlearn, right? My parents don't still have these beliefs. They're unraveling these beliefs, and they've taken fucking massive leaps that I'm super proud to see them do. And here's the number one thing. They left the place that I grew up, which is Delaware. So my parents came here in their 30s from Kenya. They worked in gas stations, making like $6, $7 an hour in Massachusetts. Then we moved to Delaware, and majority of Delaware are not people who are crushing it in life. And the informed pessimism and the person close to me who I was telling you earlier is also from Delaware. And so in addition to coming from poverty and then being around that kind of environment, my parents, these beliefs were ingrained in them. Now they moved across the fucking country. They're starting their business. Their business is starting to take off and do well. And their beliefs, I'm watching their beliefs about money unravel. I'm watching them start to unpack and ultimately start to leave them, which is beautiful to see. So I think the moral of this part right here is, if you don't live in a place that is abundant with money, get the fuck out of there. That was one of the first things that I did. Okay, so the next one is going to be abundance versus scarcity mindset. This is one of my favorite ones to talk about. And again, these are things I actively had to unlearn, and it relates to the one above, right? You have to, if you do not come from abundance, you have to create the abundance. And so what I mean, and if not, I promise you, the shit's going to show on your sales calls. If you have this attachment to money, it's going to show on your sales calls. So be very mindful of this. Be conscious of this. If you're going out to eat and you're picking let's say you want option 1 and option 2, chicken or beef or whatever, and then you choose the chicken option, not because you want chicken, but because the beef one costs $35 or $40 versus the $20 that the chicken costs. This is the scarcity mindset showing itself for you. And again, people operate from a place of scarcity because it is all they saw growing up. It makes you cheap, defensive, and unable to invest into yourself. And so for me, like, as I've started to let go of the scarcity mindset that I developed, I remember when I first came across the whole like online finance channel. There's a gentleman named Graham Stephan, shout out to Graham, good dude, that I used to watch, and his big thing was just like saving money, right? Saving as much money as you can, and like making your coffees at home and all this different shit. And I started to adapt that, and I started to squeeze my dollars, and I would always go for the cheapest possible thing. And was I able to save a little bit of money? Sure, but it drastically capped how much I was able to make. And ultimately it capped everything about me because I had this very limited, scarce mindset when it came to money. And so I had a manager who helped me, again, like I haven't done this shit on my own. I had a manager named Josh who helped me unravel these things. And there would be times that he would tell us on our sales team meetings that when he could tell we're being needy on calls, guys, you need to go release some fucking money. And I remember he sat me down and he told me, you need to take your girl to a nice dinner, take an Uber Black there, and you need to like start disrespecting money because I can tell it has a hold on you. And he was very right. So I did exactly that. And from that moment, in addition to another moment with my boy, when we came to Miami for the first time and we took Uber Blacks, I refuse to take anything that's not an Uber Black. And it's not from a place of being bougie. It's not from a place of, I'm not saying this to sound pretentious, but the difference between an Uber Black and a regular Uber is most of the time like maybe $15 to $20. Like if it costs $20 to get to that place with the Uber X, it'll probably be like $35 or $40. But the difference, it's almost like a first class Uber, right? You feel like the fucking president. You go in there and you feel like a dog, right? A lot of times they'll open the door for you. There's so much room in there. It's like tinted black, and you just feel like a don walking in there. And this has become the norm. It has become the standard. And sometimes the Uber Black is like, sometimes it's like 2 to 3 times the price, and I still force myself to take it. And again, it's become a norm. Another example is when I'm going out to eat with my family, right? Or when I'm going out to eat with my friends, I'll just pay the shit. Like this happened the last 2 times I've been there, right? We've gone out to eat and I'll just pick up the bill, or I'll just put my card down and I'll just handle it. I'll pay it. Guys, we are not splitting this couple $100 tab, right? Or maybe I'm going out with friends and, we're going out to get drinks. I'll cover the round of drinks. Sometimes they'll ask me, oh, how much do I owe you? Oh, can I Venmo you? Don't Venmo me shit. Don't Cash App me shit. It's all good. Just cover the next one. Right? This is how you have abundance, and you start to spread it across the people around you. And this detachment from money will show itself in the way that you show up in every single thing. You not being attached to money means that you're not attached to, if you're single, to girls when you're dating, right? It means that you're not attached to even like outcomes in the gym. The true definition of abundance is needing nothing, and you have to internalize this shit with all your being. Another example of this is when I first started making money. My mom had graduated from college, and was it my mom? Either my mom or my sister. But anyway, one of them had graduated. This was like mid 2024, and we were planning to take a trip. Finances weren't the best for a lot of us, and so my brother-in-law and I just said, fuck it, like we're just gonna cover the trip. And I think it was a total of like 20 or 30 grand for all of us, and we had a fucking blast. We were in a 5-star resort. This was my parents' first time being in a 5-star resort. My dad had more red stripes than he can fucking imagine, right? Everybody was having fun. We were able to kick our feet up, and it was because of this deep place of abundance that I came from. That's why I suggested that to my brother-in-law, like, bro, let's just take care of this. I don't think about that 10 to 15 grand at all, but I have those memories of this trip all the time. I talk about this trip pretty often. Any successful person that you can think of has put their nuts on the table, has taken massive risks to make it happen. Hormozy was sleeping on the floor in his gym for like close to a year to be able to make it happen. He put his nuts on the table, moved all the way across the country to California, not even having a job, coming from a place of abundance of I know I will be able to figure it out. Iman Gaji used to sleep like 3 hours a night to make this shit happen because he came from like poverty, right? I've said this multiple times, but I took out a $16,000 loan, barely making $4 grand a month. I was making like $3-4 grand a month so I can learn the skills necessary. Like these are things that I've done to put myself in uncomfortable positions. When I first moved to Miami, I was making like 15 grand a month, which if you guys know Brickell, that is nothing to be living in Brickell. I was making like 15 grand a month and my rent was like 4 grand, right? Some months I'd even make 10, right? My rent was like 4 grand. And when I did that, 20 to 25K was the floor. 4 grand for rent was the standard. A lot of people barely make 4 grand a month that pay that shit in rent, and I don't even blink about it anymore. So the point of number 4 here, which is the abundance versus scarcity mindset, is you have to manufacture abundance. And so the next time you take an Uber, take a Black. The next time you go out to eat with friends, pay the tab. Whatever cool shit you're eyeing right now, buy it. Right? And I'm not saying to go spend money like a drug dealer and go broke. I'm saying to have a healthy disrespect for money so that you don't hold it to this high standard. The next one, and this is big for a lot of you watching, this is big for salespeople, is I'll do it when I have more money. This is deadly. The reason, it's circular reasoning, right? Because the reason you don't have money is because you don't have the skill set. And so you are continuing to rely on the skill set that you have to eventually make money to get the higher leverage skill set. Like it makes no fucking sense. And it comes from this poor relationship with money. This is programmed. This is what you've been thinking. What did your parents always tell you? Don't buy it if you can't buy it twice. At least that's what my parents used to tell me. Don't buy it if you can't buy it 2 or 3 times. Don't buy it if you don't immediately have it right now. Now, sure, that may make sense for like liabilities, right? When it comes to like maybe a fancy watch or a fancy car, like maybe it does make more sense there. But when we're talking about investing into yourself, it doesn't. I remember the first thing that I said, that it's all this shit is designed for you to go get a good job. So why are you going to college when you can't afford it and you take out loans? Why is it any different there when it comes to investing into yourself? Wait until you have the money. Makes no fucking sense. This is what keeps people in these loops and these wheels forever. And if you're listening to this and you sell BizOp, this is huge in BizOp. These people have been in these patterns and in these loops telling themselves, I'll start a business when I have money. I'll do this when I have more money. But they make 3 grand a month. Like you're never gonna have more money. Like that's the fucking reason you need to do it. Right? Don't let this shit go over your head. And like I said a couple times here, before you can help anybody else overcome these things, overcome these beliefs, you first have to be mindful of it. You have to see how it shows up in your own life to then help the other person when it shows up in their life and it shows up in their language. But this is an internal battle first. It's an internal conversation you have to have first. This is why a lot of the like really good salespeople who haven't even really gotten like a ton of training, like I know a dude who he walked into this offer and his like 6th month collected like 400 or 500 grand and he doesn't even have any form of sales training. This is because his beliefs are so fucking dialed that I'm not gonna say he doesn't need it, because everyone needs to get better, right? Like in order even for him to get to the next step, in order for him to consistently do that, it'd be in his best interest to invest into himself. But this dude already had these like dog beliefs and they showed on the calls and the people bought his energy. Now, a lot of you don't have that energy though. But the point of me saying that is it goes to show how important your beliefs are and how they show on the call. Even if you don't ask the perfect questions, if you don't have the perfect objection handling, if you could get this one piece down, which is contradicting because I'm a sales coach, if you could get this one piece down, that'll put yourself in such a better place, even when you do eventually get the training, to be able to implement it from the heart and to have weight behind the words that you're using. Number 6, this one's pretty short, pretty straightforward, it's pretty obvious. I need to figure it out on my own mindset. Now this, when we talk about programming here, how do you take tests in school? Eyes on your own paper. How are you taught to learn? It's largely individual, but then you get into the real world and you find out that it's a lot more collaborative than that. That keeping your eyes on your own paper doesn't make any fucking sense, because this is one paper. Like if you do get a job, this is one paper that we're all working on. And this breeds that belief of, I need to figure this out on my own. I have to be the fucking lone wolf. And don't get me wrong, it'll get you somewhere, right? Figuring shit out on your own will get you somewhere, but it'll only get you so far. All of the most successful people you know had some form of mentorship. Even the gentleman that I'm talking about before, he may not have invested into sales coaching, but he's invested a ton into his development as a whole, and I know that for a fact. Like, this is why people get stuck watching videos like this and then getting a bunch of dopamine and just being on YouTube, even if it's not a video like this, spiking your dopamine, but then spending years and years and years trying to figure the shit out. But then someone else will come in 3 months in, 6 months in, and they'll fucking slap their nuts on the table, they'll get help, and then they make it. Right, then they get success quicker. Like my client Chris, right? This dude, he's like 4 months into sales, and he came onto an offer that someone has been the top performer for 14 months consecutively. He's been the top performer and has never gotten coached. Chris worked one-on-one with me, and he fucking spanked that dude. Like, it was a massacre. And now that dude is realizing, wow, I need to change, I need to get help, I need to do something different. So this, I need to figure it out on my own mindset that has been put into you since you were a kid. The best way to start to unlearn that is watching what areas of my life am I telling myself I don't need help. I've gotten coaches in every area of life. I've gotten trainers, I've had sales coaches, business coaches, relationship coaches, like any area in life that I don't think I'm doing the best job at, where I'm falling short, which if you think about it, you're falling short to some degree in every area of life. I've gotten help, I've gotten support. You should do the same. This is going to be how you start to unlearn this stuff and unprogram this shit. And then the last one, number 7, and this one's kind of deep. The I don't deserve it. Now, this relates to what we spoke about earlier of informed pessimism, but this is now about your own failures as opposed to other people's failures. And this one's tough, right? Because ultimately, maybe things haven't worked out for you in some degree. Maybe you've had failures. Maybe you tried to start a business and it didn't work. Maybe you've been fired from offers because of your performance, and you've started to adapt this belief of, I don't even deserve this shit. This isn't even me. Like, these people could do it, but they're just better than me. And every time you get close to success, you sabotage it. So an example of this is, let's say like in a relationship, let's say in the past, you fucked your relationships up in one way or another, and then now you're in a relationship that's actually going well, that you're not fucking up. You're subconsciously going to sabotage and fuck the relationship up because you don't even think you deserve, you don't think you deserve a good relationship. You don't deserve a good partner. Guys, I don't want this to be a Tony Robbins speech, but you are worthy of success simply because you exist. Program yourself with that instead. Every time you find your mind start to wander off to the things that haven't worked, bring it right back to things haven't worked, but guess what? I put my nuts on the table. I fucking tried, and I learned a lot from it. Move on in any sense, right? So now that you understand the 7 beliefs that are fucking you and your relationship with money, now the question is like, okay, well, what do I do? So as I've been saying this entire video, the first step is going to be awareness. It's going to be which of these beliefs show up the most for me, and really starting to see it in your everyday life. Am I telling myself I'm not worthy of things? Am I being scarce? Am I choosing the cheaper option very often, right? Am I consistently telling myself I need to figure it out on my own when I can get help? Am I telling myself that I'm going to do this thing when I have more money, when the thing is supposed to help me make more money? Am I telling myself that something isn't going to work because I've seen it not work with other people? Like everything that we talked about, I want you to sit down and be aware of which one shows up the most, because the more likely than not, there's going to be one that really, really sticks out. Then the one that does, you're going to write it down. You're going to write down how it shows up, and you're going to challenge the belief, right? You're going to challenge the things that you say to yourself that lead to that belief. Like, you're going to be very fucking aware, okay? The next part is going to be to fix your wording. Words are everything, right? A good mentor once told me words cast spells, right? Words are everything. So you need to catch your language, because the things that you say are the things that you were thinking. And so if you can catch what you're saying, you're going to catch what you're thinking. See what I'm saying? And so rather than saying, I can't afford it, how can I afford it? Rather than saying, I'm not good enough, I am the person who is becoming this. Rather than saying, well, it didn't work for so-and-so, so it might not work for me. It didn't work for this person, but I'm going to change the mold and I'm going to make it work to get, and you know, maybe hopefully even give them hope that they can try again. And again, don't just listen to this video and just get motivated, right? Like, these kinds of videos are really what changed my life before I even learned any skill set, is once I started to be aware of it. So keep a note of your doubts and your motivations, right? That's a whole separate video, but start to keep note of these things. I have this note on my phone here that I'll probably send over to my editor to put up. Every time someone would write any type of, would say any kind of doubtful thing about me, I would write it down. And every time I like get close to maybe quitting or, being in my head, I just go look at it. I had someone who I used to work with, and he would say, it's impossible to be like in your 20s and to live on your own without being in like a bunch of debt. Wrote that bitch down, right? There's more I could think of. I can't think of right now. I'd have to look at it, but write down every time someone doubts you. And then everything that you hear that actually sticks with you, again, not just like some fancy Tony Robbins motivational shit, but something that actually sticks with you, write that down too. This is something that I also did. Like I have a note that dates back from 2019, and there's a bunch of things that whenever I'd hear that would really stick with me, I'd write it down. So one of them was, your success is someone else's miracle. And I heard this from a podcast because this dude, he was like in line at the grocery store or some shit, and like the woman in front of him, she had a kid, and I'm probably butchering this, or something along these lines, and her card declined and she didn't have the money, and like he paid for it, and she said like, this is a miracle. And he said, wow, my success is someone else's miracle. And I was like, fuck, that's powerful. That stuck with me. There's a bunch of those too. Every time you hear it, write it down though. And then every time you start to get into your head and feel like, well, fuck, this high ticket sales shit may not be for me, business may not be for me, look at those doubts that the people wrote about you. Do you want them to be right? Right? Look at the motivational shit that you wrote, the ones that actually stick with you, not just the ones that sound fancy. Those are your reasons to keep going. And these are steps to rewire. This isn't the full picture though. The next piece is to surround yourself with people who are already where you want to be. I live here in South Florida, and my gym is like a 5-minute walk. I'm walking to the gym, I'm seeing Cullinans, I'm seeing Urises, I'm seeing Huracans, like I'm seeing, Ferraris, like all these crazy cars just walking to the gym, Bentleys. I live near a Bentley dealership across the street, and I'm constantly surrounded with money, right? When I was living in Miami, I'd be seeing Patek Philippe's and APs in the elevator. Like this was just where I was living, right? And this helped me start to reprogram how I viewed money. And so surrounding yourself with that. Or when I joined programs and being, in programs with people who were making way more money than me. Even with fitness, when I started working out, I started going to a gym in Delaware called the Training Center. Shout out to the Training Center. And it's this like meathead bodybuilding gym. You walk in there and you can just smell the trend, right? Like everyone in there is jacked. Everyone's working really hard. And I was like the smallest guy, of course. And that pushed me because everywhere I'm looking, people are fucking benching 3 plates like it's nothing, right? People are warming up with 2 plates on the bench, right? Go to the masterminds. Go to the masterminds around you. Even if they're not close to you, take the fucking flight. Like force yourself. I remember when I was living in Delaware, my very first mastermind was in New York, which is like 3 hours away from Delaware. And I just took a fucking, a bus, right? Took a bus. It was like a 3-hour bus to get there. Masterminds, coaching programs, cigar lounges. You could go to the closest 5-star hotel that's near you and just work in the lobby. Like if you live near 4 Seasons or anything like that, force yourself to be in the environments where money is abundant. The big thing to do is to move, right? That's obviously a pretty big life decision, but it doesn't have to be that big. You could do things like just forcefully putting yourself there, even if it's for a day or two, even if it's for an hour or two. And then this one's an obvious one because you're here, but consuming content from people who are ahead of you and being very mindful of what you're feeding your brain. Like I remember when I first decided I need to get fucking rich and I need to get out of the state, I unfollowed everyone who around me who would talk about these very self-victimizing things. People who talk about how shit the economy is, or how there's no jobs, or how everything is so expensive. I don't follow those people. I don't want to see that shit. And I carefully curated my timeline to be the people who were close to me, who didn't post stuff like that, and who weren't bitching and moaning, and the people who were like super far ahead of me, like Grant Cardone, for example, right? He used to always bark at the camera, and I used to love his videos. Another dude is an ecom dude named Nate Schmidt. I used to love his videos. Like he used to talk about this exact thing of abundance. So curating your timeline and the people who you follow who are constantly bitching and moaning, and removing them. Even if you don't unfollow them, at least mute them if they're people that you still like, but you just don't want to consume that shit, right? And then the last piece here, guys, is to just take an imperfect action. Even if it's not perfect, do something. Start small, but start now. Send that cold email. Book that sales call. Invest in that course. Like, put your nuts on the table to some degree. Like, put your fucking dick on the table. My biggest shifts came from the most terrifying decisions. Leaving my hometown. Leaving my comfortable corporate job. Making 90 grand a year at 22 years old, taking out that loan, betting on myself consistently. Even now, leaving the closing role where I was making 20, 30 grand a month to go all in on coaching, like that's me putting my nuts on the table. I'm living the shit that I'm telling y'all. So to sum all that up, develop the awareness, surround yourself with people who are where you want to be, and take action, even if it's an imperfect action. You start doing these things daily, you're gonna see how different you start to feel, how different you start to move. So this is a little bit of a different video, guys, but if you're a high ticket closer and you're not making the money you want to make, obviously part of it is going to be reprogramming. A big part of it is going to be reprogramming. A big part of it is going to be skill set as well. So if you want to work directly with someone who's unlearned a lot of these things, all these things, who's unlearned them, who's reprogrammed himself, who's been around the right people, and fast track that success and that progress, hit the link below. You're going to have a call directly with me depending on when you're watching this, right? As of now, I'm taking all my calls because I don't want to work with the weasels and I want to work with the right people. I only take on 5 additional clients every single month so that I can give you the necessary attention and help you reprogram your mindset and get the skill set so that you can get to those 10, 15, and 20K months. If not, appreciate you for watching me bark at this camera for like 30, 40 minutes. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. I'll see you in the next one. Love you guys. Peace.